there, Amanda from the Happy Homestead. Today I'm going to show you how we care for our kefir grains and make kefir. So what is kefir? Well, kefir is kind of a broad term, but it's usually made with either water or milk. This is cow's milk here. And the kefir grains, they look like little pieces of cottage cheese actually, but they're symbiotic cultures of yeast and bacteria. It's a living organism. And what they do is you put them in your milk and they actually digest the sugars. It's very similar to the process of kombucha, if you're familiar with that, right? You have your SCOBY, which digests the sugars in the ferments, the first and the second ferment. Same thing with kefir. You have the kefir grains in here and they're actually digesting the sugars within the milk. Now, I have only ever had success making kefir with cow milk. I think you can do it with other types of animal milk. I just haven't done that. You can actually also get kefir grains specifically for water, where you use a certain, I don't know, it might not be distilled water, but spring water and so forth. I haven't done water kefir either, but there is that option if you don't want to do it with milk. Why do it? I guess now that we've talked about what is kefir, why even do it? Well, again, similar to kombucha and any other fermented drink or food, it is teeming with pro and prebiotics. It is extremely helpful for gut health. And 2/3 of our immune system are actually in our digestive tract. So it is so important to have a healthy gut and get those probiotics in a variety of ways, not just one way, right? Do it with all kinds of fermented foods as well as just a healthy diet. So that's why we do it. We do it for the health, right? The other reason is it actually extends the shelf life of your milk. Because the cultures are digesting the sugars, it actually makes your milk last a little bit longer in the fridge. And it's one of the ways back in the olden days that people did this to extend their milk. So the third reason of why we do kefir, right? So number one was the health benefits. Number two was actually extending the shelf life. The third way is because it can actually be used as a great substitute for many things in recipes. It's a really good replacement for buttermilk in a pinch, by the way, if you don't ever have buttermilk and you need that on hand. But we use it for so many different things. Now, granted, if you're gonna use it and then cook with it, you're gonna obviously kill those probiotics, but you'll still have that fermented flavor in, for instance, sourdough bread. Sometimes I use this instead of water in my sourdough breads as well. So let's get to it. This batch is ready, and the way you can tell if it's ready is you will start to see, I mean, you can actually see a cream line here. This is a cream line from my milk, but you'll start to see it kind of get thicker and separate. It may not be very easy to see on camera, but I'm gonna show it to you. We're gonna dump this out, and you wanna make sure you're using very clean utensils, right? Because we're talking about cultures. So we're gonna dump this out into a strainer over a bowl, save that kefir. You'll get to see the actual kefir grains that are in here, and then we're gonna put the kefir grains in a clean jar with new milk. Okay, so I have a clean ceramic bowl here. It doesn't matter if you use a plastic bowl or not. You could probably use stainless steel too. I probably, if I would have a preference though, would be either glass or ceramic. And then I have a sieve, a fine sieve. So what we're gonna do, oh, and so because, I didn't mention this yet, but because this is a cultured product, right, it needs to breathe. So I just take a canning ring and a piece of fabric. And that's all I do, and I keep it in the refrigerator, by the way. I have left this out on my counter before, and it has cultured so fast, especially if your room temperature is, you know, anywhere between 65 and 70, it's gonna happen pretty fast. So now when I do my kefir, I have the lid on, the ring on with the fabric, but I actually leave it in the refrigerator. That's where I want it to culture because I don't want it to happen so fast. Now, if I'm in a jiffy of something that I need, right? I need the kefir for something, I don't know. Then maybe I would over the night before, but just be aware it's going to culture and separate fast. So I do this in the refrigerator. All right, so I took the lid off. Now I'm hoping you can see the focus is in there. It's thick, it's a little gelatinous, right? The cultures have done all of their work. They've done what they needed to do. So I am gonna just pour this out. And you can even see there's still some stuck in there, so let's get that out. Now, where do you get your cultures? Well, if you know somebody, the easiest and cheapest way is that if you know somebody that actually does culture their own kefir at home, you could potentially get some grains from them, some kefir grains. I would still make sure that if you do that, you know exactly how they're caring for their grains. Now guys, all I'm doing is pushing this back and forth to get the milk. And remember, there was a cream line in there, so there's gonna be cream in here too. So I'm just kind of pushing the cultured milk through, and cultured cream for that matter, and just saving the kefir grains. But if you know how they're caring for their grains, right, you trust them, you know exactly what kind of milk they're using, then absolutely I would try that. If you don't know anyone, or you just don't know anyone that you really trust, or that they know what they're doing, I would recommend buying your kefir grains online. Now, I actually got mine from Azure Standard, and I'll have that link down below. I got the Cultures for Health brand, and it's kind of like a dehydrated grain. So this is it, guys. I'm just gonna press a little bit more to make sure I get all that cream out. But you can kind of start seeing that consistency, right? And so when you buy them online, this is what you're getting, but they're dehydrated. And then you have to hydrate them up. But let me get all that beautiful cream. I do not want to lose that. So let me get that. Oh, beautiful. Okay. And so what you would do, you just follow the instructions that come with your packet, but usually you just hydrate them in regular milk for a couple of times, maybe 1 or 2 times, a couple of days each time. And then you're ready to go with whatever kind of milk you want to use. Again, follow the manufacturer instructions. But here are the grains. Let me show these to you. If you can see, it just looks like cottage cheese. That's all it looks like. And so this is our cultured product, and we're gonna do something with that. But I'm gonna set that aside. I have a clean jar. So all I'm gonna do, this takes no time at all. I only do have to do it maybe once a week. I just take my kefir grains and put them in. And then this is gonna go in the sink. And so I have some new milk here, and this is the milk I get from Azure Standard as well. It's the organic grass-fed A2A2. Now A2A2 is already easily digestible milk. Normally milk I think is A1A2. And so this is the, you know, the different protein. And so it's already much easierly digestible within our stomachs, but the kefir just goes even better. I have such little left. I'm gonna try to get this in. There we go, good. And I usually do a quart at a time as far as what I'm fermenting. Now, that's it. That's all you gotta do. I might just give it a little stir, but those grains are gonna go to work. They are gonna do what they need to do. So I'll put the top back on, the ring on, and then this is gonna go in the refrigerator. And again, I check it every few days, but it usually takes anywhere from 6 to 7 days, depending upon how much milk you have. Remember, I didn't have a full jar on this last batch, so it didn't take nearly as long, but you'll start to see it kind of separate, and you'll get an idea of, the more you do it, you'll get an idea of the taste and flavor, what you prefer. Okay, so I want to also specify that make sure when you buy your cultures, you are really reading those instructions for those specific cultures. Again, I purchased mine from Azure Standard and I got the Cultures for Health brand. And they have different cultures, like they have the water grain cultures as well for water kefir, if you want to try that. And Cultures for Health is such a reputable brand. They even have yogurt starter cultures. They have buttermilk starter cultures. You can really get deep into the fermenting and cultured world and learn and try so many different new things. But I wanted to mention, so number one, right, follow those instructions that come with your cultures. Number two, you never want to use ultra pasteurized, or I think it's called UHT milk. And so you'll find that in just about every grocery store, especially the organic milks, some of those really big name brands. All you have to do is read the carton and it's gonna say ultra pasteurized. If it says that, you probably aren't gonna have much luck making any type of culture with that milk. And that is because they heated it so high during the pasteurization process. It went so high on that heat scale that it killed everything and anything in that milk. Now, there are purposes for that, right? Obviously, it extends the shelf life, and that's how it ends up in those grocery stores. But it just doesn't really work well for the cultured product. So I would recommend that you get either, you can do raw milk. I believe you can do raw milk. Again, read your culture instructions. You might have to start out with pasteurized milk to rehydrate your grains, and then you can move to raw milk. But otherwise, I would go with, again, I'm at this vat pasteurized. Vat pasteurized means it's a low pasteurization. So it's kind of just what it says. It's a big vat of the milk and then they're heating it. But because it's such a large batch, it's not getting to those really high temperatures. And so all of the good things are still in here for the grains and the cultures to digest and to eat. Enough about milk. All right, so we have this beautiful kefir. Now, what I can do with it and what you could do is I'm just gonna pour it into a clean jar and then put it in the fridge and put a real lid on it, like either a ring and a lid or one of the plastic screw top lids on top of your mason jars, because now it doesn't need to breathe, right? The cultures have done its work and the cultures aren't even in the kefir anymore, right? They're in the next batch in the fridge. So you can just keep it in the fridge with the lid on and use it for any type of thing you want, right? Smoothies. I'm gonna actually make some popsicles today for my kids and show you how to do that with this. It's just another way that I get some good probiotics within their bellies without them truly knowing and understanding it. I have been known to actually drink the kefir from time to time, just, you know, pour some in a little glass and drink a little bit while I'm working or just around the kitchen. You have to understand that because the grains actually digested the sugars, it's not going to be as sweet as maybe you're accustomed to with any other type of milk. And so just make sure your palate is aware of that. You're aware of that. You will get accustomed to it. I try not to add any sweeteners in ours because I just don't want my children to expect that type of sweetness within their foods in general anyway. But we're going to add some fruit to this and we're going to make popsicles with it. Now, you can buy, the other thing I wanted to mention is you can buy kefir in the store. There are some really good brands out there. Just be aware and read the labels, right? They're going to have sugars in those brands. You're going to have certainly natural flavorings, maybe artificial flavorings, depending upon the quality of the brand. But just be aware of that. Just as almost anything, homemade is usually better. So I'm a big on homemade and I'm hoping to inspire you to be as well. The more things you can do at home, the more control you have of what's in your food and the quality of the food and the healthfulness of your food for your family. So I have these popsicle molds. I've had these, oh my gosh, so many years. They have held up. I do a lot of green smoothies in these for my children and then make them popsicles. And I just tell them there's something different other than green smoothies. It usually works. But these are just a really great way to have something in the freezer, especially in the summer, that they enjoy and that I know is better than anything store-bought. All right, so we've got our popsicle molds ready. I have my blender canister, so I am going to pour my kefir in. Make sure you guys can see this. You can see how it's thick. Do you see that? Okay. Now there's only, gosh, there's not a whole lot here. Almost 2 cups. So I don't know if I'll have enough to fill all of these, but we'll see. So I'm going to add some frozen organic strawberries that we picked at a local farm. The only other thing I'm going to add is a little lemon juice. I have some lemon here that has a little juice left in it, and I'm only doing that. Oops. Well, some seeds went in. Oh well. Oh, more seeds went in. Oh well. It just, the lemon helps brighten the flavors. Oh my gosh. All right, that's a lot of seeds. 1 or 2 I wouldn't care, but that was a lot. I don't know that I'll be able to get them all out. Yeah. You know what? They aren't gonna taste them. Who cares? All right, so all we have in here is kefir, strawberries, and a little lemon juice. And you'll notice I didn't measure anything, just throwing it in. So I'm not adding any sugars or anything like that. I suppose if you wanted to, you could add some honey maybe. I just don't feel the need to. So let's go blend this up. So you can hear there's still some frozen strawberries in the bottom. You hear them rattling around. There's still some, but I think they're a lot smaller. That'll be all right. That'll be a nice little surprise when they bite into it. Okay, so we're gonna pour this in. You can do this with any type of ingredients, really. It doesn't have to even be kefir. Popsicles are some of the easiest things to make for your family. All you need is the mold. That's all you need. And it's some of the easiest and the most healthy things you can make as far as desserts, while not really telling them what's in it. It looks so creamy too, doesn't it? It helped that some of the milk had cream in it. So yeah, I only use that, that milk from Azure when I do my kefir. It's just what I prefer because I can buy it in bulk from Azure and freeze it. Look at that. Just enough for 6. That's pretty good. Yeah, that is pretty good. I can taste the kefir, the fermentation. I think it's good. I don't think my kids will notice it, but I think they're just gonna be so excited they're eating a dessert and a popsicle. All right, so I'm just gonna put these lids on. And then these are just gonna go in the freezer. And then once I know that they're set, I'll take them off of the stand here and just leave them in the freezer. And that way the kids can just go grab them. So the only other thing I want to mention as far as the kefir grains, right, is that as long as you're feeding your grains, you really shouldn't have to buy any more. Now, they may multiply a little bit. If they multiply for me, they're doing it so slow that I haven't really noticed it very much. So I haven't had to buy more grains. I haven't had to throw any away. Yeah, so I haven't had those problems. I think as long as you're keeping them fed and you're taking care of them, you shouldn't have any issues. Now, if you go on vacation, which we've done, it's really no different. As when you go on vacation, you're planning to do all these things as far as packing and get things ready. I'm like, okay, I need to feed my kombucha, my Scooby. I need to feed my sourdough starter. I want to feed my kefir. Like, there's things that I do a little bit different for my to-go list for vacation. But yeah, I'll just make sure before we go that my kefir grains are in the fridge with a fresh batch of milk. And that can really take them anywhere from 7 to 10 days. You can even go a little longer. You'll notice if it's gone too long that it's really separated. It's almost as if you've got the milk, the cultured milk, and then you've got water underneath, like a cloudy water. Then it's really separated. It doesn't mean it's all lost. It just means it may not taste as great, but certainly you can use it. But just keep everything fed in the fridge and you'll be fine. So I hope you're inspired to try making your own kefir and maybe your own kefir popsicles. And let me know if you have any questions. Trust me, this is not hard. You will succeed. Just follow the directions. And again, the link below for the Azure Standard Cultures for Health. If you're not familiar with Azure Standard, check out that link or check out some of my other videos where I do Azure drops. I've got another drop coming up this week, which I'm so excited about. I hope I've inspired you to try making your own kefir and maybe even some kefir popsicles. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for all your support. I love the comments that I get, so please keep them coming. And stay healthy, stay well. See you next time.